She hacked her neighbor's Wi-Fi to save $50. Instead, she found a way to become the invisible god of their lives. The neighbor's Wi-Fi. In Tacoma, rain always came unexpectedly and laughed as if it had changed its mind. That evening, the asphalt shone like black glass, and thin rivulets slid down Madison's apartment window, distorting the reflection of her monitor. Madison, a 30-year-old IT support specialist, liked to think of herself as a rational person. She could fix other people's systems, configure their computers, and spot their errors faster than her own. Yet the monthly internet bill, $50, felt insulting. If the neighbors are already paying, why should I? She said aloud, as if presenting her case to an invisible jury. She opened her laptop and clicked on the Wi-Fi icon. A list of networks popped up like a deck of cards. Netgear 44F, Home Sweet Home, Tacoma Guest. And one especially tempting. Johnson family. Strong signal, almost unprotected. She tried the first thing that came to mind. Password. Error. Then, 123456. Error. The third attempt. Password 123. A green lock icon opened, as though God himself had forgotten to close the door. She smirked. So this is how they protect their digital lives, she muttered, leaning back in her chair. But instead of satisfaction, she felt a strange thrill. The connected devices appeared on screen. iPhone Luke, Kindle, Mary, Xbox, Josh, laptop, Karen. Dry lines of text turned into real people living just across the wall. Curiosity outweighed caution. She logged into the router panel, an old model, firmware untouched for years. The administrator password was still the default, admin/admin. At that moment, it became clear. The Johnson family had opened not just their internet door, but their home itself. At first, she only wanted to test the speed, but her eyes lingered on the logs. They revealed everything. When the teenager played online, which sites the father visited, which recipes the mother searched. Digital footprints, like wet shoes at the doorstep, told more than their owners ever would. She closed the laptop, but the router's blinking light in the hallway kept flashing, like an eye that now saw her too. In the days that followed, the rain never stopped, and Madison grew used to the tapping on the metal vent, like the metronome of her new hobby. After work, she sat down with her laptop and opened the neighbor's router interface as naturally as others scrolled through a news feed. At first, it was pure observation. She tracked who logged in and when. In the evenings, the father, Luke's iPhone, consistently showed up on adult sites. The teenager, tagged as Josh Xbox, stayed up late downloading game hacks and searching for test answers. Karen, laptop, likely the mother, browsed cooking blogs and sent long emails to a friend using the address mary.kindle. These sterile logins and timestamps began to take shape in her imagination. She pictured a man hiding his phone from his wife, a boy pretending to study while shooting pixels on screen, a woman opening a 30-minute pie recipe because dinner had failed again. Funny, Madison thought, how easily digital life betrays what reality keeps hidden. She sipped cheap supermarket coffee, reheated microwave pizza, and watched them as if it were a series. Only this series had no editing, no filters, just raw truth uploaded every minute by the Johnsons themselves. Her own life felt dull by comparison. Remote work, rare calls to her parents, a couple of forgotten social media profiles. But next door, drama pulsed. Sometimes she even held her breath when 3 devices appeared online at once. Family night? An argument? The more she watched, the less she could stop. A gambler's thrill awoke in her. What would the logs reveal today? What secrets hid between these lines? One night, she shut her laptop and noticed the clock read 2:30 a.m. She should have been asleep, yet she sat in darkness listening to rain drum the roof. For the first time, the thought pierced her. Someone else's life had become more interesting than her own. Curiosity slipped into interference, almost unnoticed. At first, Madison only observed. Then one night, sipping cold coffee, she noticed the teenager once again searching for history test answers. In the logs, it looked like a sad little cheat attempt. She smirked, then clicked a few keys and blacklisted the site. The next day, the boy spent more time on the textbook site. Within a week, his grades improved. She overheard the mother happily discussing it over video call. Madison felt a strange warmth, as if she had checked off a to-do list item herself. Then came the father's turn. Each night, Luke's iPhone wandered into sites better left unspoken. A few keystrokes and the door closed. The first night, he scrambled from link to link, then gave up. By the next evening, the log showed Netflix TV. The family watched a movie together. She observed it like a director watching her cast, almost ready to applaud. The mother drew her in, too. Madison glimpsed complaints in her emails about her husband, her fatigue, her life. Madison tweaked the ad filters. Instead of "How to Leave Your Husband," Karen Laptop began stumbling upon 10 ways to rekindle your marriage. Soon, flower deliveries appeared in the logs. Madison felt like more than a hacker or admin. She was now an unseen curator of happiness. But along with it came a new habit. She checked their lives more often, unable to ignore mistakes. Leaving things alone felt like a crime. One evening, after blocking yet another site, she noticed she was smiling. A thought echoed in her mind. I'm fixing them. I'm making them better. After a month, it looked like Madison had taken on a second job, without pay or weekends. In the mornings, she checked logs. At noon, skimmed activity on her phone. And in the evenings, sat before the router panel as if it were a living creature. Now, she knew everything. When the boy turned on his Xbox, she guessed which game he chose. When the father opened email, she saw which newsletters caught his eye. When the mother searched for recipes, Madison could predict the family's dinner menu. Observation turned into subtle tuning. She rerouted queries, altered search results, suggested videos. The boy landed on educational YouTube channels instead of cheat forums. The father saw articles on health and marriage instead of darker content. The mother encountered uplifting blogs about family nights. And it worked. The logs filled with movie nights, family calls, fewer midnight downloads. On the surface, an idyll. But Madison herself was changing. Her freelance work stalled, missed deadlines, unanswered clients. Her phone stayed silent, and she no longer cared. Each time she shut the laptop, she felt emptiness, like the end of a binge-watched show, then hurried back to the panel. She sat at night in the glow of the screen. Sometimes she felt her breath sync with theirs. Their joys became hers, their quarrels, her anxieties. One evening, she realized she knew more about them than about herself. Her own pizza grew cold in its box, her bills piled on the table, but all of it seemed like scenery. The real life pulsed beyond the wall, and she could no longer turn it off. One evening, as rain scattered the last pedestrians, Madison sat with her laptop on her knees and listened to muffled voices through the wall. "Thank you," Karen told her husband. He mumbled something about being a different man now. The teenager cut in, saying he felt smarter and ready for exams. Madison smiled in the dark. They were thanking each other, but truly they were thanking her, the invisible, nameless hand that cleaned their online world and nudged them toward better choices. The scene struck her as oddly touching. She recalled her former mentor's words. "A good admin is like a guardian angel, unseen, but everything works." Yet she wasn't an admin anymore. She was directing another family's fate. The weight of power pressed heavier by the minute. She knew. Remove her filters, and it would collapse. The husband would return to his sites, the boy to cheats, the wife to exhaustion. Their new life relied not on them, but on her secret keys. Late at night, staring at the blinking router, Madison decided it was time to stop. She would disable her access, let things return to normal. She typed the command, "Disable." But then she saw it. Josh Xbox connecting to an unknown server. The boy already sliding back. Seconds later, Karen laptop sent, "I can't do this anymore." Moments after, Luke's iPhone tried to bypass filters. Madison froze. Just minutes without her control, and harmony fractured. She closed the laptop, but the growing feeling in her chest was clear. It wasn't they who needed her. She needed them. Each day, the illusion of the perfect family crumbled faster. The boy found new cheats and secret chats. The husband returned to old habits with stubborn intensity. The wife complained again to her friend that nothing has changed. Madison watched like a director whose actors ignored her. She tried to restore control. New filters, blocked addresses, altered searches. But her hand grew too heavy. Sites slowed, emails vanished, ads jumped erratically. The family suspected glitches, though not the truth. Madison felt trapped. Her own life was gone, the fridge empty, bills unpaid, clients gone. Yet each evening she sat at her laptop, desperate to keep the neighbors afloat, captain of someone else's ship. One night she understood. She wasn't God, but prisoner. They couldn't live without her, but she couldn't live without them either. All of it clung to this fragile channel, this old router, this ridiculous password 123. Then it struck her. If it was so easy to seize the Johnsons, who said no one was doing the same to her? She too had a cheap router. Her password, QWERTY. She had never changed it. The thought chilled her. Perhaps her choices, her searches,
even the impulse to hack next door's Wi-Fi. Were they part of someone else's experiment? Was another Madison sitting somewhere, pressing keys, believing she was helping? The logs flickered. Josh Xbox online. Luke's iPhone retry. Karen laptop chat. She stared at them and felt this wasn't just their life. It was a mirror. For the first time in weeks, Madison closed her laptop and didn't reopen it, but the router's blinking light still shone in the dark, like an eye that never blinked.
Sunday morning brought unexpected sun, but in Madison's apartment it barely touched her. She sat at the cable before the gray router, its green light blinking steadily. An ordinary box, yet suddenly something more. She finally decided the password had to be changed. She opened the settings, typed admin/admin, and froze. The field, last modified, showed a date. Not today, not yesterday, a year ago. Long before she connected to the Johnsons, before she even knew their name. She scrolled through the log. Her own devices were listed. Madison laptop, Pixel phone. Sessions matching moments when she had suddenly thought to hack the neighbors. On the same day, ads appeared in her browser. How to save on internet bills. Coincidence? The floor seemed to shift beneath her. The router blinked on. Not her gaze watching the neighbors, but someone's gaze watching her. Maybe all this time. She looked around. Her apartment resembled a set. Half-empty fridge, piled bills, unanswered emails, all distractions from the main show, the Johnsons. But now she wondered, were they ever real? Or carefully scripted characters? Password 123, too simple, too convenient, as if planted, baiting her. And now, having understood the pattern, someone above was watching her too, waiting to see what correction she would make in her own life. Madison shut her laptop and turned off the light. But in the dark, the indicator still blinked. Not like an eye anymore, more like a cursor, waiting for the next command. And she understood with sudden clarity, it had never been her game. She was only the next node in the network, part of a larger script where God and victim switch places, but neither is ever free.